Good evening. My name is Nancy Farrell, and I'm a part of the Capital Transformation team, and we're pleased to be meeting with you this evening to present the 100% design for the Codman Yard expansion and improvements. Welcome to this virtual public meeting. We will wait a couple of minutes before we get started to let people sign on. And when the pace slows a little, we'll welcome you back again. So again, thank you for joining us this evening. We look forward to having an interesting presentation.
Entonces, buenas noches. Mi nombre es Nancy Farrell y soy parte del equipo de Capital Transformation aquí con ustedes esta noche para hablar sobre los planes de diseño 100% por el proyecto de expansión y las mejoras de Codman Yard. Gracias por tomar su tiempo para unirse a nosotros. Antes de comenzar, vamos a tomar un momentico para orientarnos sobre el entorno virtual, pero vamos a esperar todavía unos momenticos para los que todavía están llegando. Gracias de nuevo por estar aquí con nosotros.
Xin chào, tôi là Nancy Farrell và tôi là một phần trong nhóm Capital Transformation. Chúng tôi rất là vui mừng được có mặt với quý vị tối hôm nay để nói về dự án 100% mở rộng và cải thiện sân Codman Yard ở giai đoạn 100% kế hoạch thiết kế. Xin cảm ơn quý vị đã dành thời gian để dự cùng với chúng tôi hôm nay. Xin cảm ơn.
Hello again and welcome to the Codman Yard Expansion and Improvements 100% Design Meeting. Again, my name is Nancy Farrell. I'm a member of the Capital Transformation team and happy to welcome you this evening. We are going to start with some refreshing instructions on how to participate in this meeting. You may have heard Lan, the Vietnamese translator, welcoming you this evening, as well as Emily, the Spanish interpreter. And if you are interested in a live transcript, please go to the bottom of the screen and check the CC live transcript image at the bottom of the page. Give you a second to do that in case you want to use the transcript. If you require the interpretation services, you have to click a button at the bottom of your screen, which I'm not seeing right this second. It's a world button. And it should be there, and you can choose Vietnamese, Spanish, or English. And we will wait until that shows up.
That will not show up until after the interpretation function has been turned on, which will happen after Lana and I do our introductions as well, just as you did yours.
I thought you had done your introductions, but I will welcome you to do them again. Emily, go ahead.
Thank you. Buenas noches todo el mundo y estamos aquí entonces para orientarle a la función de subtítulos tanto como la función de interpretación. Si usted desea tener subtítulos para la reunión, ubícase al fondo de su pantalla de Zoom y ahí verá una parte que dice CC y se puede apuntar para subtítulos allá. Si desea escuchar esa presentación en español, por favor, en un momentico, cuando encendemos la función de interpretación, empuje el globito y allá escoge Spanish. Si se está conectando tras móvil, empuje los 3 puntitos y de ahí escoge Interpretation, pues Spanish, pues Done. Si tiene cualquier problema, comunícase con nosotros tras el chat. Muchas gracias. Ya le voy a dar la palabra a Lan en Vietnamese next.
Yeah. Thank you, Emily. Xin chào các quý vị. Thưa các quý vị, nếu mà các quý vị có ai cần nghe phiên dịch tiếng Việt thì chút nữa khi được kích hoạt cái tính năng phiên dịch, xin quý vị hãy nhìn vào biểu tượng quả địa cầu globe ở bên dưới và bấm vào đó thì sẽ thấy có các lựa chọn ngôn ngữ và có thể bấm vào Vietnamese để chọn nghe tiếng Việt dịch. Và ngoài ra còn có thể bấm để nghe CC, tức là closed captioning, để xem được cái tiếng Anh đang hiện ra trong khi có người trình bày tiếng Anh. Xin quý vị có thể chọn sau khi được kích hoạt tính năng phiên dịch ạ. Xin cảm ơn.
Thank you both. So again, let me remind you, you could use check CC to see the live transcript. And then we will see the globe, which will let us all choose Vietnamese, Spanish, or English. I do want to say I've seen in the chat that a couple people are saying they're having difficulty with their sound. It sounds fine to me, and I think I've checked with a couple of other people. So one suggestion in the chat is to quit and reconnect and make sure that you have the most recent form of Zoom that you're using. All right, now we see the globe. So if you check on the globe that says interpretation, you can choose English, Spanish, or Vietnamese. Give you a second to do that. So again, I'm going to thank you for joining us. All attendees will be muted during the presentation to avoid hearing a lot of background noise. We'd like you to let us take you through the presentation, and we'll have time at the end to ask and answer questions. You can use, as you know, the Q&A feature at the bottom of the screen when we get to that section. We like you to pose one question at a time, and when we've gotten through individual questions, we can go back and repeat them. Here's our overview, the Q&A button. You can also use the raise hand button, which is also at the bottom of the screen. If you have joined by phone only, you can also raise your hand by pressing the star button and then the number 9. That's *9. After you speak, we're going to lower your hand. You'll be muted to allow the team to respond and provide opportunities for others to participate. Again, I will go back to people. The other thing I do is if we get 4 or 5 questions that are very similar, I'll try to group them so that the team can answer them all together. All right. So we're going to get ready to move on, and we can go to our first slide. This is our safety moment, which is really important for the MBTA. We want to encourage you to keep wearing a face covering when riding public transit. And I noted in the news this afternoon that I think that recommendation is going to stand for a while. As the pandemic continues to affect us all, it's important that we take these actions to protect ourselves and our families. Wear a mask or face covering, continue to wash your hands, keep your distance from others, don't share food, drinks, or utensils, and stay home if you are sick. We encourage everyone who is eligible to get a vaccine and a booster as soon as possible. And at the T, we take COVID-19 precautions very seriously for our staff and riders. So we encourage you to be vigilant and stay safe. Next slide, please. All right, here's our agenda for this evening and a little snowy picture. We all hope that's going to disappear pretty soon. We're going to start by talking to you about what the Capital Transformation Project is, and then move into a brief discussion of the Codman Yard project background and timeline. Then we'll share the key design elements and considerations for the project, and we'll wrap up with our next steps and closing comments. We want to make sure that this information is broadly available for riders, neighbors, and the community, so the presentation is being recorded and will be available online at mbta.com/RLT. We'll repeat that at the end. Again, give us a couple of days. Sometimes getting a video online on the MBTA website can take up to 48 hours, but then it will be available for you. With that, I'd like to introduce Angel Pena, Chief of the Capital Transformation Program for the MBTA, and Angel will introduce the following speakers. Angel?
Thank you, Nancy. So on behalf of the entire Capital Transformation team, thank you for joining us. I'm here today with our Acting Deputy Chief, Lisa Laporte, Senior Director, Benjamin Friesen, and our Project Manager, Rudy Dorlins, from the Redland Transformation staff, but also some of the staff from the project design team as well. But before we get started, I do really would like to take a few minutes to highlight how this project advances the goals of the whole capital transformation programs for the T. Our program is now in charge of improving the quality of service across the green line, the orange line, and the red line. And this includes reaching a state of good repair, enhancing accessibility, upgrading trains, increasing capacity, improving rider experience, and also expanding service in the future. So across the capital transformation team, we also aim to have transparent, open, and honest communication with all riders as we drive this progress across the program. While I have enjoyed the past 3 years working on the Green Line as the Chief of Green Line Transformation, I am looking forward to be working with the Red Line riders and getting to know the neighborhoods better as we work together to improve the service. On the Red Line, for example, we are delivering improvements necessary for the new higher capacity Red Line fleet currently in production. Some of those improvements are the new vehicle test track, which was delivered in 2021, upgrades to the signal system that we're starting this year in 2022, repairs to the Red Line track and power systems, and upgrades to the yards. So you might be asking yourself, why are yards important for our riders? Well, each day, service for Red Line riders starts from 1 several yards. So we have 5 for the Red Line. So that includes Codman, Braintree, Cabot, Alewife, and Cardigan. You see, yards offer a designated place away from the main line where cars are cleaned, doors are inspected, parts are repaired, and wheels are adjusted. And the yards and their facilities are critical for delivering that quieter, cleaner, and safer service that you guys all deserve. In addition, yards provide a space for our new vehicles to be commissioned and stored without disrupting regular service. So the on-time deployment of the new vehicles is critical for the higher capacity and increased frequency. So here's a quick video showcasing those upgrades to give you an idea what all yards and improvements are all about.
The Codman Yard expansion and improvements has reached 100% design. Improvements made to this yard will bring fundamental benefits to the entire Red Line system. Like all capital transformation advancements, our goal is to improve reliability and overall quality of service for all riders and communities served by the system. All existing tracks will be replaced so there will be less noise and faster turnback times. 6 new tracks will be added to the yard to increase storage for the new Red Line fleet. Improvements to the yard include a vehicle wash, improved inspection pit, rehabilitated storage tracks, 6 new storage tracks, and a bypass track. These advancements will help improve reliability and efficiency, reduce service disruptions, and bring the yard to a state of good repair. Yards and their facilities help provide cleaner and safer service for the entire Red Line system. Adding additional storage tracks will provide space for over 100 vehicles. Finally, yards provide a space for our new vehicles to be commissioned and stored without disrupting regular service. Stay tuned for more exciting updates from the Red Line Transformation team.
As you can see, yards are critical to providing safe and efficient service for all riders. Although located in Dorchester, the work completed at Common Yard will benefit the entire Red Line system, and this is why we're here. So Lisa, what are those conditions that we're facing today at Codman?
Thank you, Angel. Well, Codman Yard is one of several of our maintenance yards along the Red Line that stores, maintains, and inspects the Red Line vehicles. It's located just south of the Ashmont station in the city of Dorchester. The yard is over 100 years old and was last rebuilt in the 1980s almost 30 to 40 years ago. Currently, as you can see, looking down on the right side of the slide, there are 16 existing storage tracks that hold 70 vehicles or red line cars. What the yard lacks currently are the major elements for additional storage that we will need as we bring on the new red line fleet of vehicles, and then build the infrastructure to be up to date to allow for vehicle washes, new track, and inspection pits. The other improvement that we want to add that it currently doesn't have does not have the adequate security features that we want to have in our yards, such as lighting, CCTV, and other security measures. The three main goals of the Codman Yard project are: one, to expand the yard by 6 additional storage tracks to increase capacity. And you can see those highlighted in red on the slide. We will replace the existing tracks, which are to the north of the red, and we will take the aged infrastructure and replace it to improve the reliability of maintenance of the cars. Thirdly, we're going to upgrade the lighting around the perimeter to control safety and security and improve neighborhood conditions. As shown here, you can see in the footprint of the yard that there is existing space available within the existing yard perimeter and property lines to add these 6 tracks. We will not be expanding the yard or the site, and we will merely be taking the area to the south and filling it with the additional tracks, which will give us 15% more capacity, which equates to about 36 vehicles, which will give us overall 100 car storage in the future. The track that connects the yard to Ashmount Station is also going to be reconfigured. This will allow for the trains to deploy in the morning for service, to do it that efficiently and to return efficiently. As well, the existing track, power, and drainage will be upgraded, along with the lighting system and a more directional system to prevent light from spilling out into the neighborhood and being a better neighbor. And with that, I'll hand it over to Rudley.
Thank you, Lisa. And good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening. The improvements made at Codman are critical to the accommodating the new Red Line fleet and creating safer, more frequent service for all Red Line riders. As Lisa mentioned, the project includes adding 6 new storage tracks, which are highlighted in red, to the yard that will increase capacity for an additional 36 vehicles, and bringing the yard storage capabilities to over 100 cars. Oops, excuse me, a little bit technical difficulty. As a new bypass track will be built, providing a second path into and out of the yard, all the existing tracks in the yard will be replaced. Excuse me, folks.
Rudley, there,
Yes.
we see you now. We see you now.
Oh, you see me now? Sorry,
Yes,
I
we
do
do.
apologize
Yeah,
for that.
welcome
The button was a little bit frozen. Excuse me, everyone. A new bypass track will be built, providing a second path into and out of the yard. All existing tracks in the yard will be replaced. There will be rail lubricators installed to help reduce noise in the yard, particularly the wheel squeal when the loop track is used. Just south of Ashmount Station, the project plans to replace and upsize the existing crossover. Upsizing the diamond crossover will allow trains to transition across the tracks quicker, which will help increase reliability and efficiency of the train runs. With these improvements, there will be less noise generated on the new tracks, especially with the installation of the rail lubricators. There'll be faster turnaround times for the trains and increased storage capacity for the new Red Line cars. Besides tracks, there'll be maintenance improvements in the yard. This project will replace the inspection pit, which will provide a safer work zone for employees to inspect both the old and new Red Line cars. The inspection pit allows the MBTA to proactively examine vehicles and detect issues early before it impacts riders and causes disruptions. Also, the vehicle wash will be rehabilitated to bring it up to a state of good repair. The car wash will be painted and have structural repairs made, which will provide riders with a nice, clean ride all year round. There will be civil improvements throughout the yard. The project will relocate the gate at Hillsdale Street entrance further into the yard. This will help reduce vehicles idling or parking in front of residents while gaining access into the yard. Gallivan Boulevard entrance will be modified to allow traffic to enter and exit Codman Yard more easily. This improvement will help reduce the traffic flow on Hillsdale Street during construction and even after this project. To provide a safer work area for employees and contractors, the project will replace grade crossings and yard walkways. This will allow safer walking paths across and around the tracks. There will also be new yard drainage that will improve the overall storm management in the yard, creating a safer, more accessible environment for all employees. The drainage system is based on the specifications set by the Boston Water and Sewer Commission to minimize impact to the surrounding streets. One of the most significant components to train operation is power. Without power, the trains do not move. Power is a large part of this project. The improvements will overhaul the aging infrastructure. Within the yard, the project will replace third rail, duct banks, and cabling. This will continue with the addition of a utility bridge, which will run parallel to the existing track bridge over Gallivan Boulevard. This utility bridge will house the new cabling for traction power that will feed Codman Yard. Located just south of Ashmont and before Gallivan Boulevard, the existing duct bank, which runs along the main line track, will be replaced. The project will place a mobile substation in the yard to temporarily power Codman Yard and the Mattapan high-speed line while the new duct bank is installed. There will also be an installation of new AC power feed into the yard. And lastly, the installation of a new AC feed will help support the new light system that will be installed in the yard. The lighting system in the yard will be replaced using lighting that is more directional and more energy efficient. Lights will face more into the yard to minimize light trespass onto the neighboring areas. This will help improve overall safety and security within the yard while minimizing light pollution and spillage. To improve security and safety, new security cameras will be added in the yard. All gates will require card access to enter, and damaged fencing will be repaired. New signal duct banks and troughs will be installed to provide infrastructure for future signalization of the yard. New radio control snow melters for third rail will be installed that will help reduce energy consumption. Environmental impact is very important to us here at the MBTA. We consider the impact of our project on our employees, as well as the neighbors we operate out of and the neighbors that abut our facilities. As we discussed in the previous slide about light pollution, the project will address the concern with the new LED lights that will be installed and the directions of the lighting system that will be fixated in the yard. The MBTA has filed with the National Environmental Protection Agency, which is reviewing and validating that the project does not create any environmental issues or impact. We have conducted soil borings in the yard, and preliminary results suggest that there are no major red flags regarding contamination, and that the construction could proceed. With all construction projects, we do preliminary soil analysis for geotechnical purposes and to determine disposal options for the soil. Noise is another environmental concern during and after construction, and we will work to comply with the City of Boston noise ordinance during construction. When the project is completed and the rail lubricators are installed, there will be significant reduction in train noise coming from the yard. Now we'll pass it over to Ben to discuss the construction phase.
So now let's discuss the construction and the impacts. We have explored several construction strategies and mitigation methods that will allow us to get the job done with minimal disruption to the neighboring areas. Construction will begin in fall 2022, later this year, and will continue for 3 years with the projected completion in fall 2025. Just prior to construction, we will have another public meeting to communicate the expectations prior to our builder mobilizing at the site. As always, a major value of the red line transformation is to find ways to accelerate the work, to limit the disruption to the neighborhood, and to deliver improvements faster. We're currently in the process of aligning objectives and schedules of Codman with our other projects, namely the Signals project in 2023 and track work in 2024 and beyond. By aligning these activities, we can avoid hitting these areas multiple times and causing further disruption to our riders. So once we start work, what are the impacts to the riders in the local community? First, work will be primarily completed during the day while red line cars are out providing service. Over the 3-year construction period that I pointed out earlier, we estimate that a few weekend diversions, anywhere from 4 to 6, will require alternative service with shuttle buses from Ashmont to JFK. We anticipate one of these weekends when busing on the Mattapan high-speed line will be necessary. As with any construction, the development at Codman can be disruptive to the area. That's why it is a top priority for us to reduce noise outside of normal working hours as much as possible. Our strategy with contractors is very hands-on. We take these concerns seriously and communicate with them on a daily basis with those performing the work. So for example, regarding Hillsdale Street, we will be very proactive at preventing both the Mbta and contractor vehicles from idling and taking away parking spots from the local residential area. As rudely pointed out earlier, we're planning on moving the Hillsdale Street gate entrance into the yard an additional 35 feet as an additional noise measure. Second, the installation of rail lubricators within the yard will also help to further mitigate noise throughout the yard as trains move around the tight corners. Third, during construction, we will monitor any dust generated by the contractor and push them to use dust control material and methods. Fourth, pest and rodent control. There'll be regular pest control inspections to assess the site for infestations on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. And lastly, we will also have a 24/7 noise hotline that neighbors in the area can reach out to at any time with comments or concerns. So with that, Angel, can you walk us through how we'll keep the public informed?
Sure. I want to assure you that once we start construction, our priority is going to be to further minimize disruption and finish the job as quickly and safely as possible. So looking ahead, we will select a builder and start the work by the end of this year. Once the builder is selected, we will have another public meeting with you and everyone to discuss in more detail the construction process, the logistics, such as mobilizations of crews and access to the yard like Ben mentioned. But also with that, I wanted to discuss a little bit further how we're going to be keeping you informed on our progress. Public engagement and transparency are very important to us. And we have been working closely with stakeholders such as the neighborhood services, civic associations, city council, and the local hospitals and we will continue to do so as the project progresses. Our team will also continue to engage with the neighborhood surrounding Common Yard. And we have distributed flyers to members of the local community in English, Spanish, and Vietnamese. We also provide weekly program updates to our email subscribers and to our website. So one of the best ways to stay informed is to subscribe to our email list. And you can always follow up with questions via email to the red line transformation team at rlt@mbta.com at any time. So we want to thank you for your time tonight and your attention. And now we'd like to open our Q&A questions and allow Nancy to please take us from there and tell us how this works. Nancy?
Thanks, Angel, and thanks to all of our presenters. If we just go to the reminder page, just remember that you can use the Q&A button at any time to submit a question or comment. Press the raise hand button, and I will go back and forth between the Q&A and the raise hand. And if you've joined by phone only and you'd like to pose a question or make a comment, hit *9 and we will read the last 4 digits of your telephone number. So I think we have some questions in the Q&A, so we're going to jump right into those. Robert asked how many Russian-made vehicles are involved. Well, Robert, there are no Russian-made vehicles. They are made in China. So certainly we're not supporting any current Russian, I don't know, companies, I suppose we could say. Sean asks, do the 6 additional tracks increase the size of the yard? And the answer is no. That is covered in the presentation. And I think you can see that there are new storage tracks coming in, but the actual perimeter of the yard is not being increased. So I hope that that shows you the correct answer to that question. Again, we will be presenting, this presentation is actually already posted online, so you can go back and refresh your memory if you have additional comments and send them to us. Robert asked for us to define duct banks. It's actually duct, D-U-C-T banks. And in my everyday explanation is that those are banks that are put in to carry electricity and fun things like that. But I'm going to turn to somebody else. Ben, you're nodding, and maybe you can do a better explanation than I did.
No, that was actually a pretty good explanation. So on the screen that you see here, for each one of the tracks, we basically have to, it's not only just about the tracks, it's about powering the tracks and signalizing the tracks. And that's exactly what the duct banks are for. For each of the tracks, there's a duct bank, and basically the signaling and the traction power cables can go in those duct banks. They haven't been renovated in quite some time, and so that's a major priority of this project.
So let me correct myself. I did not ask if there were any elected officials who wanted to speak first, because I didn't actually see any on the list, but I apologize if I missed any. All right, well, let me ask one more of the Q&A questions. Hi, and thanks for outlining the work. Wondering if the temporary power installation has any noise impact. I believe the answer is that you will not hear it outside of the yard, but I'm going to ask one of our technical experts, Doug Woodbury maybe, or Rudley, to address that.
Sure, this is Doug. Yeah, if you're more than 10 to 20 feet away from the substation, you won't hear a thing.
Great, good news. Will the team, Sebastian asked, will the team consider putting roofing in the yard so as to mitigate environmental wear and tear on the rolling stock? I have never heard that question, so that's an interesting question. I do not think that's at all part of the design. Doug, could you address that?
Sure. Roofing an area like this would be really expensive. The biggest concern technically is like the wind load that would happen for a roof over several acres. So the rolling stock is made to be, made to be operating in the wind and rain and other atmospheric conditions. So it's not currently thought to be an economical idea to cover it all over.
Okay, thanks, Doug. It also would make a bulkier kind of facility, wouldn't it? Or is that me just guessing?
No, it would. I mean, it would be much more visually intrusive to put a canopy over something like this. I mean, that would definitely be something that would be seen for a long way.
Thank you. Lori asks, says it's great to see that the MBTA is prioritizing the reduction of light pollution. Currently, there are high lights which do broadcast many streets away. Is there a time frame for when this portion of construction will happen? Late 2022 or toward completion in 2025? Do we have that information? That I know that we're approaching construction, but can someone tell me and the team and the audience if we know when those lights would go in, or is that towards the end? Really?
That would be towards the end,
Okay.
Nancy. Yeah.
Okay. Can't put them in when you're doing work and installing rail and moving a lot of equipment
Yeah, it's
around.
going to be towards the latter half of the construction period.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Thank you. Maura says she's right next to the yard. She needs the hotline. You will have it, Maura, and we answer all those questions as quickly as we can and as responsibly as we can. So as soon as there's a contractor on board and we have our public meeting and you've met the contractor, there will be a hotline that you can call with any questions or concerns. I'm going to go over to the raised hands for a few minutes here. Matt Bell, we're going to recognize you and you can unmute yourself.
Hello.
Hello, Matt.
My question is the entrance on Gallivan Boulevard. Why is that not being used with a contract of this size and the capabilities of the contractor? Why are you going to impose all this problem on a residential street when you could figure out a way to do it straight from Gallivan Boulevard?
Matt, thank you for that question. I know that part of this answer is the angle of the entrance from Gallivan Boulevard. And this was discussed yesterday in a meeting I was in. It would not be possible to do it on MBTA property. And if anyone wants to add anything about that at the moment, Rudy?
Oh, and unfortunately, Hillsdale side is going to be probably the most convenient, more conducive to the laydown area and construction, especially when we're adding in the 6 additional tracks. So, but as the construction progresses, at some point, the contractor would be using Gallivan Boulevard as well to wrap up the project as well. So both entrances will be used, and we're hoping with modifying the Gallivan Boulevard entrance, that will hopefully minimize the usage or the impact on the Hillsdale side.
Well, you say it's convenient, but it's certainly not convenient for the residents here in Hillsdale and Richview.
Oh, I understand, sir. And that's one of the reasons why we're modifying the gate so trucks are not idling or parked in front of residences and blocking it. So we're trying our best to make sure that we minimize as much impact as we can on that street. And if we can use Gallivan in the beginning phases of the project, we will certainly will attempt to do so.
So I want to add one
Thank
other
you.
thing.
Okay.
I want to add another thing, and that's, so if we're stuck with this, can the MBTA create a parking lot for only the Hillsdale Street residents? Because they have pretty much nowhere to park over there. I mean, I don't even know how you're going to get trucks down the street. There's so many cars over there.
I don't think that the MBTA has space to make a parking lot for Hillsdale residents. You see that all of the space would be used by the additional tracks. I just think it's physically impossible in that location.
Well, I think that one of the proposals was to move the gate back. How far
Yes.
back are you going to move the gate?
35 feet, 35, 40 feet.
35 feet. So you could end up with at least 6 additional spots.
Yes, but we're moving, the gate's being moved back so that any trucks that are entering the site won't be idling or making noise, which would disrupt the nearby houses. So that's
Okay.
the point of moving the gate.
Right. So
To
if you're
protect
moving
those
the gate
homes.
now, 2 years or 3 years or 5 years from now, after the project is done, why cannot the MBTA commit to a residential parking lot for the Hillsdale Street neighborhood?
The T doesn't usually build parking lots for neighborhoods. It builds parking lots at its stations for commuters, and those folks have to pay to park there. It's
Does-
not really a
does the-
part of this project, sir, to do that.
Does the MBTA usually put a neighborhood at such disadvantage, having these trucks rumbling through 24 hours a day, creating a traffic and health hazard?
Well, the
Yeah.
intent certainly is to try to keep construction to a 12-hour day and not a 24-hour day, to make it possible, to make it a better situation for the residents and neighbors. So we're certainly, and we'll continue to work with you and let you know as we go forward toward construction, how we can handle mitigation to the extent possible. I'm going to recognize Daniel Magoon. You have your hand up. Daniel,
On mute. There we go. Thank you, Nancy.
you're welcome.
I am to a direct abutter, and I first off want to thank the team for this information and presentation. I have a couple quick questions. The track number, currently, I think I caught the number. There was 16 current tracks, and you're adding 6.
There we are. Yep.
And your goal and objective is to house 100 cars.
I believe that's the number. Yes.
How come you can't, so what will happen when these trains are phased in and the old trains are phased out with the old track? Will we be looking at more than 100 cars 5 years from now?
I don't think there's capacity there for more than that number, although I will defer to someone else, like maybe Doug.
Okay, 16 tracks hold 70 cars currently.
Right.
Mhm.
Is that correct?
Right. So there's going to be a period of time where the new trains are on the MBTA property and the old trains have not yet been taken off. So that's why we need the additional storage capacity, is to plan for that time, because there's just not enough space to deal with both the new and the old fleets. In the long term, the need for additional trains in Codman, should go away.
Okay, and again.
One more quick one, Daniel, please.
Sure. Yeah, sure. You guys need to do more for the neighborhood. This project, it talks about lighting pollution, but it doesn't talk anything else about closing in the yard. And I don't mean by a chain link fence. There will still be sound issues with this construction. There are still light issues. When trains pulling in out of the yard, it lights up people's homes. Changing the direction of lights is not going to fix that. This project needs a wall around this yard, and you really need to reconsider what you're doing to the people that live on Hillsdale Street, Rangeley Street, and Hutchinson Street. I just recommend you do more for the community as opposed to the people that are just riding these trains. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We will definitely take those comments into consideration. We have a phone number and the last 3 digits are 018. If you can speak up.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, this might have been addressed already. I'm kind of coming into this rather late. My concern now is where I live, I hear the trains idling, waiting to go into Ashmont Station, and I can hear them idling over at the in the yard on Galvin Boulevard. And it's such an annoyance because it's always there. How is that noise going to be eliminated as we move forward with this project? Or is it going to be eliminated?
Well, idling is part of the operation of the system, and I know that that is not particularly the responsibility. It's an operations question. I know, though, that that the MBTA is trying to minimize it to the extent possible. We know that it can be difficult for people. I wonder, Ben, if you want to add anything?
Well, no, yeah, I think Nancy, you got that. That's mostly an operations question.
Yeah.
The purpose of this project in our group is to reduce the other sources of noise, right? So when you have an old yard that hasn't been rehabilitated in over 30 years, you have a lot of track that has both bad track foundation and bad track superstructure. We're there to basically fix all of that, replace all the track in the yard, and we will be adding new track. But I think once the whole process is done, you're going to have, a revamped loop track, storage tracks, and that source of noise will be certainly mitigated. There's other design factors like the bypass track, which will, for some trains that are trying to access the expanded track, they'll pass over fewer sections of special track work, which will also mitigate noise. Just wanted to point that out.
Thank you. Hold on, I'm just going to jump around over to some Q&A. Let's see. I want to get new questions. I realize the pandemic has affected the schedule of delivering the new Red Line cars. As of today, what's your best guess as to when the whole new fleet will be delivered from Springfield to Boston? I'm not sure the whole fleet's going to come all together, but Ben, do you have an idea when that's going to happen?
So we can't speak to the overall schedule of the vehicle program right now. I can say some good news that we did accept several new Red Line cars. It's been a while. So there, if you go out onto the system, you can actually see them in testing, and there's actually one full train that's currently in service. So that's exciting for us. And we look forward to start delivering that, the vehicles into service.
Let's see. Currently, the tracks idle at Huron Circle, south of the Ashmont station. It sounds like those tracks will be impacted too. Can you share the work specific to that section of track? And I know someone knows this answer. Doug? Nope, not Doug. Oh, Rudy, sorry.
So the work that's going to occur around Huron Circle, there will be the existing duct bank that will be replaced. The diamond crossover, which exists back there along that side, will be relocated as well as upsized. And there will be some rehabilitation that will occur closer to the Gallivan Boulevard Bridge, and as well as some turnouts, some special track works that will be replaced. That is the scope of work that will happen along that side.
All right, thank you. Sean says, I appreciate the plan to decrease the noise pollution. I am wondering and hoping there's also a plan to plant more trees on the edge of the yard to decrease visual pollution too. I don't think that there is a large plan to produce a lot of greenery there at this point, but we certainly will take that into consideration and will be part of our next conversation with you. Let's see. Stefan Wunsch, am I correct that besides the car washer and inspection pit at Codman, the only other is at Cabot? If so, would there be any benefit to adding a second pit and or washer at Codman during this project to cover the capacity needs of any future expansion of the size of the fleet? This is an interesting question. Ben?
Yeah, so I think that's a great thought, actually. I will say that, our priority here with Codman is to ensure that we are strategically in the position to accept the Red Line vehicles, which will expand capacity quicker for the riders. So is that, there are many different yards across the Red Line where we could put an additional car washer and inspection pit. For the purposes of Codman, we're basically here to expand the yard and bring the yard to a state of good repair.
Thanks, Ben. Someone asked, would this help with the squeaking of the trains moving in and out of the yard? Ridley did talk earlier about the rail lubricators. Could you just briefly summarize that, Rudy, so in case people missed that information?
So, well, two things, and I think Ben touched upon it too during construction. You know, the common yard hasn't been replaced, worked in for about over 30, 40 years now. And you have old tracks there. So with a combination of new tracks and the rail lubricators that will be strategically placed throughout the yard, that will minimize the squeal wheel of the trains throughout the day. So particularly around the loop track in Codman Yard. So these lubricators spray a type of mineral or oil along the tracks to provide a smooth transition throughout the yard.
Thank you. I have a couple more questions about idling. Again, these are operations questions, and if you send us an email, direct it to us, we will be happy to pass those questions on to the operations team. We really don't want to answer on their behalf much more extensively than we have so far. You can follow up with questions to us by writing rlt@mbta.com at any time, and we can direct those questions to the right sources. I'm going to 2 hands raised at the moment. Charlie Tevnan. You can unmute yourself, Charlie.
Thank you. I would like to echo the comments of some of the prior butters and say, for example, what Matt Bell said made sense. I don't think that the access should be from Hillsdale Street, very dense, pure, 100% residential. It makes more sense for the access point to be Galvin Boulevard. There must be a way with a project of this size to construct a safe passage for the heavy equipment over the tracks if they're accessing, if their access point is Galvin Boulevard. I think the comments about trees are welcome. My question is about the bridge over Galvin Boulevard. If there is the duct going to be visible, and is the bridge itself going to be improved? I guess that picture shows, a rusty, unsightly bridge that thousands of people have to see every day. So I just wondered what the plan is for that, for the Galvin Boulevard overpass.
That's a good question. And who's going to answer duct question here? Another duct question.
So this is Doug. I'd like to handle it.
Okay, thank you.
So yes, the duct will be visible. It'll be in front of the bridge in the view that you see there. There's a separate project that the MBTA has underway that's going to be rehabilitating the entire Mattapan high-speed line, which shares this bridge with the red line. They decided that it's going to be starting in a couple of months roughly. So this entire bridge will be rehabbed. Design's not done yet, but it looks like it's going to need to be entirely replaced as part of that project. So yes, this bridge will be removed. The new ducts will be put across it because it simplifies, or not attached to this because it simplifies the construction in the future, so that you don't have to worry about disrupting the power on this while you're redoing the bridge.
Thank you, Doug. Okay. Robert's asking, what is being done with the uses currently in the location where the new tracks will go? Can we see that diagram again, and which shows where the new tracks are going? That slide. There we go. Basically, it's space that is not in use. And Doug, can you comment on what's there now?
Yeah, there's some miscellaneous storage of materials in that area. There's really not a whole lot going on. So it's basically going to contribute to the overall cleanup of the yard to to be a nicer looking facility by putting the tracks in there. There's really nothing else there.
Okay, thank you. We had a couple questions about sound barriers to offset the noise, and we have discussed this as a team, and I wonder if Doug, you would summarize the investigation that was done into the sound issues.
Sure. So we did a fairly extensive study on the sound generated from the yard. Some of you may have noticed, setting up microphone stands to record this over an extended period of time. The conclusion was that the yard actually generates less noise than the traffic noise from the surrounding streets, with the one exception of when trains go around that loop track with the wheel squeal that we talked about. That was the single most significant noise generator, out of the yard. So we've talked about putting in the new lubricators will mitigate that. So what we're trying to do is, be a good neighbor. With the new track work, some of the impact noises that you hear over the old tracks are going to be mitigated. And with a bypass track, again, that goes through fewer switches, and there's a, ka-chunk noise every time you go over a switch. It goes through fewer of those. So we're going to be, contributing to reducing the overall noise out of the yard.
All right, thank you. Let's see, Joanna and Andrade, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. You have your hand raised and you can unmute yourself, Joanna.
Thank you. I'm a direct abutter on the west side of the yard on Hutchinson Street. And I have a concern and issue. The T yard is elevated above my landscaping in my yard. So when there's heavy rain and runoff, a lot of that water runs into my yard over the wall that is created around my house by the T. And I don't know if in your project you have looked at rain runoff and how it affects the abutters, especially those homes that are below the elevation of the yard. And I was hoping, and on Hutchinson Street, our sewage system, sometimes we get the drainage from the sewage system, we get a lot of water on our street. So I did hear something about you worked with the Boston Water and Sewer to make sure that there's a minimum impact, because they do have on record that we have had several instances on our street where rainwater has backed up on our street quite a bit, and some ended up in some neighboring homes.
Yes.
So
I'm sorry to hear that, and I think Doug can address that issue because it is something that will be dealt with.
We are. The yard right now doesn't really have much of a drainage system, so we're putting in one, and there's a Boston Water and Sewer main line that runs deep underneath the yard, which is where we're going to connect to bring water out of the yard down, so that it won't impact that. Now, in terms of the particulars of backing up, because we're going deep and we're not affecting that, I don't think it should be changed in terms of what you're experiencing, unfortunately. But it's really a little bit beyond our control to to deal with the Boston Water and Sewer. I mean, it looks like sounds like there's definitely a problem there, but I don't think it's something that we can solve as part of the Codman Yard project.
Let's see, but Doug, it does look like we'll be doing some improvements to the site in terms of water.
Yes, yeah, our plan is to, we're going to collect the water within the yard itself and channel it down deep to a Boston Water and Sewer, so that there's definitely going to be less runoff of anything out of the yard. But because the yard is higher than some of the properties, I don't know if there's anything else that we can do in that regard.
Okay, thank you. Looking for anyone who has not asked a question yet, who might like to pose a question or make a comment. Let's see, Maura, I think you have asked a couple, but you're on Hilldale and you don't want to close your windows in the summer due to the trucks as in prior projects. I know that we are making an effort by moving the gate inside the property to try to avoid impacts of the truck idling or waiting for the gate to open or making your life more difficult. So frankly, that's why that design decision was undertaken. Certainly, as construction starts, you'll see how that works. Clearly, there is traffic on the street, but we are doing our best to try to address the issue of any idling in front of the houses there. And I don't see any new questions. I do see one. All right, George, I don't know how to say your last name, but there you go. You can unmute yourself.
All right, thanks, Nancy.
Sure.
Yeah, I just wanted to say hi, everyone, and thank you for your presentation, along with, I think, Lisa, Ridley, and Ben. So my name is George Huynh with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. And I just wanted to say that I've been listening tonight, and for all the abutters that might have some concerns moving forward, you can always reach out to me. I think Dino DeFranzo from the MBTA has been very helpful with just explaining the process to me, with reaching out to abutters and keeping me in the loop. So if you ever have any concerns, we're working together. So I just wanted to offer that support. And thank you.
George, thanks very much.
George, we look forward to continuing to work with you. Thank you.
So let's see, Daniel, if you want to ask one quick question, we will unmute you.
Yeah, thanks, Nancy. I appreciate it. The question's related to the current work trailers that exist in the Hillsdale area when you enter from Hillsdale Street. What's the plan for the workload, and are those current trailers going to expand now that there'll be more trains coming into the yard?
I'm sorry, did you ask about, I guess you were asking about trailers. I didn't hear what you said initially. Okay. I don't know if we at this point have an estimate of the number of trucks. I know that we've tried to make that situation better, and we'll continue to take a look at it as we advance the construction. And if you have suggestions, we'd be happy to hear more of them. And Maura, one quick question. You unmute yourself.
Okay. Oh, I can talk.
Hello?
There you go. Yep.
Hi, I'm sorry. I am with Sheila Hennigan. She is at the end of Hillsdale. She's
Okay.
33 Hillsdale. She is seriously worried about this, everything that is going to happen to her, like house, her everything. I'll let Sheila tell you. Go.
I want to know, is the Galvin Boulevard entrance going to be the main entrance?
It won't be the main entrance. It'll be one of two entrances. I'm sorry, Sheila, we lost you? No, I'm not hearing Sheila anymore. She can try to come back. I do have Todd Limming, I think, with the city's Public Works Department wants to reach out to our team. So we will definitely, Todd, reach out to you.
Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, I can now. We couldn't hear you for a while.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Okay. You know, this is Sheila Hannigan, and she isn't in the last house down near the gate. And she has a tremendous amount of worries about this entire project, whether you digging up and putting in new rails and having rodents come into her house because of the project, and a lot of noise and lights, and it is a tremendous project for somebody that's living next to this project.
I completely understand, and I think that we will make it a point to come visit before construction starts and tell you what kind of work will be done, give you a heads up about everything, and we'll tell you how the rodent control is implemented. And it is checked weekly or bi-weekly once the traps are put in place. I completely understand this is a very worrisome situation about as soon as construction starts in the city, definitely that there are those kinds of impacts. So we will make sure that we are informing you and keeping you apprised of what is going to be happening. And you will have the phone number to call if there are issues, and the contractor will be on site, and our staff will be there to make sure that the commitments that have been made to the community are kept. That's a promise that Capital Transformation makes. And Angel, maybe it's a good time for you to address the kinds of issues that we're talking about and our commitment to working with the community.
Thanks, Nancy. So yes, I think that's why we're here. I mean, we're here to have an opportunity to hear your thoughts. Way before construction, I want to remind everybody, this is just a milestone, 100% design. We don't have a builder yet, okay? And in the next couple months, we're going to be working on the procurement for this construction and then get a builder. But I promise you, on behalf of the team that you see right here talking to you, that once we get the builder, it is our commitment to find the best way we can possible to do this massive construction. So important from the Mbta, for so many important for the riders, but making sure that we're doing the best we can to mitigate all those things that you're bringing us to our attention. Some of those we're already aware, thanks to the team being open, like for example, yesterday in some of those engagements. And there are many more to come. And I really appreciate you being here and giving us that. So it is our commitment to you that we're hearing you. We're listening to you, what you're saying. And then when we get the builder right on board, we will gonna find ways, the best we can possible, to see what can we do on those concerns that you brought to our attention. So some of the things that you said that the team already shared with you is just already the principles that are guiding principles that we will use. But having the builder, it will give us a good rationale to see what is possible, what is not. But what I guarantee you though, and I only can speak for what we have been committed in the past. Like I said, I was in charge of the Green Line transformation. I still am in charge, and I have a great team there. But if you probably have seen in the past from other projects and other improvements, we always are committed to find ways to do the job faster. So I can promise you that at least that we will do. We'll find a way that we can see what can we do, what methods we can do to try to see, to just take this Band-Aid as quickly as possible for you so we can be out of your community as soon as possible. So that's something that once we have the builder in, we're gonna find what can we do instead of having this longevity of time of 3 years to try to get this done. But I cannot promise you that until I got the builder here and be able to share all these concerns and see what can we do. So stay tuned. Remember that this is not the last time that we will be seeing, that I'm seeing you, you will see the team. We'll be getting back to you, and we'll have another public meeting where we're gonna be able to walk you through the logistics and still have one final shot of what other thoughts you have. And we're gonna be working with the neighborhood association to make sure that we're able to address anything. We are committed to that. So just stay tuned. This is just an opportunity to be open and transparent of what we're seeing coming. And this is not the last time you're going to see us talking to you and getting your comments.
Thank you, Angel. I want to encourage everyone to use the email address to reach out to us again. It's on the screen, rlt@mbta.com. The website is on the left side. We do answer every question that comes to us. Sometimes it takes us a couple days, but you will get an answer. I want to thank you all for joining us this evening. As Angel said, we will be back. We will be working with you, and we look forward to those future conversations. So thank you very much. And you can look for this presentation and the video online within a couple days. And have a pleasant evening.